Alright, welcome back to our second video of week 5, which is we are going to really start make our hands dirty, right? So the very first thing, not very first thing, this is second things by the way. Okay, never mind. The second things that we are going to learn today, but the very first thing for programming is basically we are going to learn about the syntax, the most basic syntax for R. Alright, so let's go to our very first slide first. Now, the very first thing that we need to know is basically this is how R works. There are a few things that I think is very important for you to know first, right? Before we move further. And the first thing is basically you need to be familiar with what is print over here. What is print over here is important. That's number one. The second one is comment, and the third one I think is basically it's not in this slide. I'm not sure why. I forgot to put, but it's okay. I will just update the slide later on and you will see this one in these slides, which is the input. Alright, so the very first one is print, which is displaying. The second one is basically comments, which is this one, and the third one is the input. Let me just try to show you how is it work. Alright, so for this class we are going to use Google Colabs, right? So how is it work for the very first thing, which is comment? And what is comment? So the way how you can comment your code is you can just put hashtag over here and just write anything. Alright, and if you run this one, right, there is nothing happen. Alright, so let me just try to put print over here. Alright, print hello there. Alright, so if I run this line of code, what happened is this just write anything is not displaying anything. Alright, so why? So this is this is the function of comments. Alright, the function of comments is basically for you to document your code. Alright, so whenever you put this comment, right, with the hashtag, right, what is it mean is basically you are trying to document your code. So let's say if I wanted to read your code later on, I can easily understand your code, and the reason is because I put comments. So that is the reason. So let me just try to put give example comments in R. Let's just try to find one good example. I think I'm not sure if there is any good example. Oops, sorry. So never mind, I'll just use this one. I'll just use not this one. I saw one just now. Okay, never mind, something like this. Alright, something like this. Alright, so sometimes, right, when we have comment like this, right, we have 1 comment, 2 comment, 3 comments here, right? So what we can see here is this comment is just like how you document your codes. Alright, so this is the first one, which is write multiple comments. Alright, I'm not sure there is multiple comments or not. The second one, select those line and they all will be converted. So all of this, right, the writings and everything is basically for you to document your code, so that someone outside of the group, whenever they try to read your code, they can understand your code. That is the purpose of comments. Alright, normally if you don't want to put comment, that's fine, but for the assignment, I think that would be very helpful if you put comments, so that whenever I see your code, right, I can understand what you are trying to create. Alright, rather than you just simply says print hello world, right? And this one print hello world, right? This will display. Okay, this is like the simplest example, even though this one is not logic. But my point is, if you compare between the first code and second code, right, the second code is a lot more clearer because you put comment. Now I know already, even though this is really obvious, right, that this one will display hello world. So that is the purpose of comment, for you to actually document your code. Alright, so that is the first one. The second one is print. Alright, so what is print? Print is basically for you to display whatever, or output whatever you wanted to display. So as example, if I wanted to print hi hi, my name is Rahman Rom and I am 29 years old, right? Something like this. Then if I run this code, right, what happen is it's going to display or print whatever is inside the print. One rule about print is you need to make sure it is covered, or it is encapsulated with the quotation here. All right, so it can be either something like this or something like this. I mean, if you start with this, you need to end with this as well. You cannot simply start with this and end with this. It's not going to be working that way. All right, so just remember. All right, so I think that's it for print. It's quite easy and quite straightforward for print. And the next thing is about the next thing is about comment print. Oh yeah, input. So what is input is basically, let's say you wanted to receive input from someone, right? Meaning that you wanted to ask them something, and that someone literally give you the values, right? This is where we can use something which is called input. So how can I run input? Basically, you can just put read line over here, and maybe you can just ask any question. What is your name? All right, as example, right? So if I run this one, what happen is it's going to be prompt you and asking you your question, which is based on this one, what is your name? And then you can just simply put and press enter. That's it. But normally for input, right, normally what people does is it will be associated to a single variable. So let's say this one is what is your name, right? Most of the time is we are going to put something like this: customer name is equals to read line what is your name, and then print customer name. This one is just the simplest one. So what is your name? If I put Amar over here, then it will print Amar. So that is how input work. All right, so for input, normally it is associated with a variable or assigned with a variable. So it is a lot more easier for you to keep repetitively using that variable. All right, so that is the three things that you need to know. All right, now let's go to the 4 rules are never bans. All right, so the first one is comments start with hashtag. We have teach about this one, and we have go through about this one. All right, so this is comments. Now the second one is R is a case sensitive. What is it mean is I want you to know between print, right, print and print is technically difference. All right, and if you do something like this, right, print, which is capital letter, right, capital letter over here is going to have some arrow. So let's say we start with the simplest one first, print hello. We can output one thing, right, which is hello. But if I put P capital letters and then hello, what's going to be happen is we are going to get some errors. All right, some errors. All right, so that is the reason why it's very important for you to know R is case sensitive. The P and P capital letter is different, something like this. All right, now the third one is every text need quotation marks. All right, we haven't really learned about text data types yet, but what is it mean is whenever you assign a variable, right? So let's say we have student name is equal to Ali sebagai as example, right? Student name is Ali, or maybe let me just name something different, maybe Thankful, right? So if you wanted to assign, this is characters, right? This is text, right? If you wanted to assign this Thankful to student underscore name, you need to make sure this one is encapsulated within double quotations, all right, double or single quotation. All right, so it doesn't really matter. So then only you can run. Previously you cannot run. Okay, if I run this one, you cannot run because it will have arrow, which is something like this. All right, so that's why you cannot run. Now the last one is every bracket needs a partner. What is it mean is, let's say when you do print, right, we have parentheses over here. So let's say if you just remove one partner, all right, meaning that we only have one parenthesis, which is the opening parenthesis, right, you cannot really do anything. Even though if I print something like this, you are going to have a arrow, right? So what you have to do is you have to close this one with the parenthesis as well. Now only it works. Alright, so I think that's it for 4 rules, which is for R. And now the next thing we are going to go through in following videos is we are going to learn about variables and data types. Alright, see you in the next video. Bye bye.